Hello, my friends. Welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel, and I'm going to talk to y'all about some of my fall favorite things. I'm thinking of doing a few videos like this, but today I'm going to be talking about books, and just some of my favorite books to read during the fall, specifically classics and books that have classic vibes. So I don't know about y'all, but when it's spooky season slash fall and it's cooling off, but it's really nice outside and the leaves are changing and you just want to spend a lot of time outside, I have like 3 moods when it comes to the books and TV shows and movies that I like to consume. I like to go back to classics and Gothic literature. I like obviously spooky things, but when it comes to horror during the fall, I don't want anything that's going to make me have an existential crisis, like anything by Stephen King, pretty much, or gosh, I don't know, Hereditary. I'm not, that's not like, it's not cozy to me. I just want to watch fun slashers. I just want to have fun horror and spooky things and go to haunted attractions and haunted houses and just cheap scares. And yeah, that is what fall is to me when it comes to my horror and spooky stuff. And then I also get in a very Gilmore Girls, Hallmark, cozy New England town apple picking mood as well. So those are like my 3 main moods. So I'm kind of gonna break down my favorite things to read when it comes to that. And I might get a little off track and also talk about some of my favorite movies that fit the same vibe as classics Gothic. Yeah, I think I just decided to do a double whammy on this video now. Anyway, also sorry if I'm like zoning out a lot or like super tired. I just celebrated my birthday a few days ago, which that was a great day and wonderful, but it was still kind of tiring. And now I'm cat sitting for my cousin. I have 2 cats living upstairs. I would show them to you, but they're not allowed downstairs because the downstairs is not cat proof at all. And I know as soon as I let them see the downstairs, that's the only place they're going to want to go. I'll show a picture I have of them around here somewhere. Anyway, that tangent out of the way. That was all to say, if I'm tired, forgive me. Let's talk about classic and classic feeling books. And then we'll maybe talk about some movies. Okay. So first off, I'm going to go down the list of just classic books that I like to read during the fall, or I have read during the fall, and it was absolutely the right move. First up, classic Gothic perfect Dracula by Brom Stoker. I love this Barnes & Noble edition as well. It's just absolutely stunning, and the end pages are all like red and Gothic and bloody. Dracula is the perfect book for the fall, in my opinion, because it's classic literature, it's Gothic, and it's spooky all in one. It is such a cozy read. It's an epistolary novel, so it's written in the form of journal entries and letters. And I don't usually enjoy that, if I'm honest, but it works in Dracula so well. And it just feels like you've been rifling through some old dusty desk and you just found all these papers and you're piecing together a story. And it just is the perfect book to read by the fireplace with a crackling fire and a cup of hot tea. And I love it very much. Obviously, most people are familiar with the story. I don't need to go into it, but it's a classic for a reason. And it's a wonderful read. Like, even if classics intimidate you, Dracula is easy and quick to get through. It's fairly short too, but it just reads so smoothly. So if you haven't read it, I highly, highly recommend that you do. Next up is another classic. I mean, I'm going to hit all the ones that you probably are expecting me to hit, but I mean, I would be remiss to not mention these. So Frankenstein by Mary Shelley, another wonderful, spooky, sci-fi horror novel to read during spooky season. I mean, it's also another perfect one. This is, in my opinion, a little less easy to get through than Dracula is. Frankenstein is a little more nuance. Frankenstein was written for kind of more of a discussion of humanity than Dracula was, just in my opinion. It definitely feels like more of a highlight and discussion oriented book that over Dracula, which to me is just a fun read. I mentioned this one in my last video, but Jane Eyre by Charlotte Brontë, one of my favorite classic books. This was one of the first classic books that genuinely just gripped me body and soul, not me going on Mr. Darcy there. Jane Eyre is just such a beautiful story following our main character Jane as she just lives her life and does her best to get by. Great Gothic vibes, spooky, large house vibes, dinner parties. It feels rich while also feeling dusty. It's excellent. It's excellent. Next up is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. All right. The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. This is a classic haunted house story. You probably have heard of and or seen the TV show. Really nothing like the book, but both are so good. It's kind of the same way I feel about The Shining by Stephen King. Like, the book and the movie are so incredibly different, and I love them both so deeply. Same thing with The Haunting of Hill House. I know a lot of people, when they hear it's like, you know, it's scary and it's like a classic haunted house story. A lot of people go into it and get kind of disappointed because it's not that scary, and it's really not. Like, there are scenes that are rather spooky, like you have, you know, unexplained slamming doors and stuff, but you don't really see anything that's scary, and there's not a ton of scary experiences in it. But what made this book for me was the ending. It was just such a chilling, immediate ending that absolutely it hit me, and it made the whole book worth it, even though there, you know, I wasn't like scared or super compelled to keep reading the whole time. It was a really cozy book, like a cozy spooky book, and then the ending just like boom. But it also is a very classic haunted house story, so I highly recommend reading that as well. It's fairly short. There's audiobooks for it all over the place. Definitely recommend checking that out. If you are easily scared, I feel like you'll be fine. I'm probably not the best person to tell you if you'll be fine or not, actually. But I feel like you'll be fine. Another Gothic feeling classic book is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. This book has so many just chilling elements to it. This is another one that is more along the lines of Frankenstein, where there is more discourse to be had over it. A lot of stunning quotes, a lot, like you could write a whole paper on this. And as you probably know, but I'll go over anyway, we're following our main character, Dorian Gray, who is kind of this innocent, upper class young man who gets this beautiful portrait of him done that is like almost a perfect reflection of what he looks like. And as he goes through his life, you know, hurting people and hurting himself through his choices, while he remains beautiful, his portrait starts to decay and look absolutely horrifyingly. It's like a reflection of what his heart is kind of turning into. And it's just such an interesting study, character study. It's beautifully written. Oscar Wilde is, you know, a stunning writer. This has Gothic vibes. It's honestly a little bit spooky, just the descriptions of the picture. And like, I could just, I don't know, in my mind's eye, I could just see the hidden room where he keeps his picture shrouded in this like blanket to keep himself from seeing what he really looks like. It's just, it's very haunting. It's more haunting than The Haunting of Hill House. Again, high recommend for classic Gothic feel. And then finally, for the classic books that I'm talking about, I'm going to be recommending Rosemary's Baby by Ira Levin. I haven't read a lot of more modern classic horror. I believe Rosemary's Baby was written, I want to say maybe in the 50s. I'll correct it right here. I had seen the movie before with Mia Farrow. Absolutely loved it. I think it is a wonderful movie. I'm going to be recommending that movie later in the video. But Rosemary's Baby is just an easy, quick, short little read about a just sweetheart of a woman, Rosemary, who desperately wants a baby, and she gets what she wants, but maybe not. I actually just finished reading it for the first time just this morning, actually. And I knew I wanted to talk about it on here even before that because I know it's beloved by many people. It's just a classic, both in literature and in film. Rosemary's Baby is, you can go into it just for a fun time, just wanting something spooky that, you know, rubs you the wrong way a little bit, or you can go into it really wanting a discourse on what the book is talking about with, you know, society and how women are treated in society. So definitely a great short little classic. The audiobook that I listen to is on Libby through my library, and it's narrated by Mia Farrow, which is really, really fun and exciting. So yeah, recommend that one. Now to go into some more modern day books that still give me those classic Gothic vibes. I have a similarly long list with these as I did with my actual classic books. So we'll just dive into it. First up, I have A Dowry of Blood by S.T. Gibson. Gibson, yes. This, if you enjoy Dracula at all, if you like vampires, if you like Gothic stories, if you like historical or alternate history type retellings, I feel like you would like this. This is another super short book. It reads just as good with your eyes as it does with your ears. The audiobook is fantastic. But this is not really, it's not a retelling of Dracula. It is a retelling of Dracula's life from the point of view of one of his wives. And it's just absolutely stunning. What I really thought was interesting about this book, going into it, you know that the male vampire in question is Dracula, but his name is never mentioned, and it really puts all of the agency on his wife, who is telling the story, and also his other spouses and lovers that become part of the story as it progresses. It's beautifully written. It's uniquely told. It goes through history, through different time periods, because our lovely vampires are quite immortal. It has that classic feel without being hard to read or anything. It's just, yeah, if you like vampires, Dracula, Gothic stories, definitely pick up Dowry of Blood. Next up is a book that I read recently, which is The Children on the Hill by Jennifer McMahon. This doesn't read like a classic, but I put it on here because it is inspired by Frankenstein, and there's a lot of references to Frankenstein and the Universal monster movies with Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein, stuff like that. And there's, you know, a spooky like hospital manor. There's the woods, there's monster hunting. It has all the elements that would make up a good classic story. Hello, would you like to join me? Yeah, I think that's all I need to say about Children on the Hill. These next few books that I have on here are on here because they feel like classics, but they also have dark fairy tale vibes, which I associate fairy tales very heavily with the fall and winter, because they're like classic fairy tales are absolutely horrifying, but also super cozy and magical. So I wanted to put a few of the modern day fairy tale feeling books on here. So I guess a really good segue book between monsters and fairy tales is Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. I love this book so much. It is part of a series. It's the second book in the Wayward Children series, but you do not have to read these books in order at all. In fact, I think starting the series with this book is like, I would kind of recommend it. But partly because I did like this book a lot more than the first book, and the first book and this book do spoil each other. So if you're like me, you're going to be compelled to read the first book anyway, and that is totally fine. They're short books, they're quick reads. If you want to read the first book before you get to this one, be my guest. It's also very good. But Down Among the Sticks and Bones are following these twin sisters, Jack and Jill. And the whole premise of the series is that children that just don't feel like they belong in our world are, you know, they'll find a door, a la Chronicles of Narnia, Alice in Wonderland. They'll find a door and enter into a new world that is more accepting of who they are. And so these twins are, in our world, kind of forced into these stereotypes. Jack is forced to be a tomboy when she really just wants to, you know, wear nice dresses, and Jill is forced to wear nice dresses when she really wants to get dirty. I might have that backwards. In fact, I think I do. But anyway, they're forced into stereotypes that goes against who they are as a person. And they enter into this new realm, and it is this Moorish, gray, kind of wasteland, but also beautiful. Like it's got a very gray feeling to it, even though there's meadows and woods and stuff. It just feels very dreary and kind of nice. But we do have the trope of rich vampire overlord, as well as mad scientist reinvigorating the dead. So we have these Dracula Frankenstein vibes, while also having this very fairy tale-esque story told to us, especially Seanan McGuire's writing style. It just feels like you're being told a fairy tale, and it's so cozy. She does narrate the audiobook, the author. So if you would rather listen to this with your ears, I think both, once again, both audiobook and physical book are absolutely wonderful ways to consume this story. But this is such a fall kind of book, in my opinion. And then next up, you can probably guess I'm going to be talking about Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. Once again, dark fairy tale. It feels like you're in the woods, you're on a quest. It's, you know, got a fairy godmother and an evil prince, and it's a good time. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I mentioned this book in just about every freaking video that I make since I read it. So yeah, but I do think this is a perfect fall book. And then finally, I have Through the Woods by Emily Carroll. This is a graphic novel. It is a collection of fairy tales, more or less, told in graphic novel form. The illustrations are stunning. They're very black, white, and red. That's the color palette. It's black, white, and red. I'll see if I can find a picture of one of the panels and put it in here because it is absolutely stunning. Once again, it's fairy tales, but very, very dark. Some of the panels were truly kind of scary and spooky and disturbing, but it feels kind of like if Edgar Allan Poe had done illustrations for Grimm's fairy tales. I don't know, that's just the best way I can describe it. I highly recommend it if you like fairy tales and spooky things. Okay, I'm gonna talk about a few movies that have these same vibes as the books that I just talked about. Obviously, much like Dracula and Frankenstein were obvious picks for classic literature, Universal monster movies are obvious picks for that same vibe. You have Dracula and you have Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, Wolfman, Creature of the Black Lagoon, The Invisible Man, who am I forgetting? Oh, The Mummy! I'm forgetting The Mummy. These are just so cozy. I'll put them on as background noise while I'm cleaning, but then I get distracted because I just love watching them. They're everything that makes classic horror films great. If you haven't seen one, I know they were on Tubi for a while. Dracula and Frankenstein and Bride of Frankenstein were on Tubi recently. So even though it does come with ads, it's free. So who am I to complain? Definitely check those out if you haven't, because they're so cozy and they're not scary. I mean, they were done in the 30s and 40s. They won't hurt you, I promise. You'll be fine. If you want to enjoy spooky season and you aren't a spooky season kind of person, I think Universal monster movies are that perfect bridge. Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho is another classic film that I absolutely love to watch any time of year, but particularly this time of year. I'll never forget the first time I watched it. It scared the pants off of me. It still is one of my favorite movies in general, let alone favorite horror movies to this day. There's just... I could talk about fun facts about Psycho for way too long. If you haven't watched it, watch it. Even if you've been spoiled for it, watch it anyway, because it's still a masterpiece of a film. Especially, there's something about watching black and white, scary and spooky movies at night with popcorn during the fall. It's perfect. It's ideal. It's ideal, isn't it, Fern? Yes. Again, like I mentioned, Rosemary's Baby has that older classic movie feel that is slightly more intense than Psycho, in my opinion. Although I'm sure there are people that would disagree with me. Classic film, absolutely stunning. I don't know what else to say. It is one of the most well done horror films that I've ever seen. I didn't prepare for movies, so this isn't going to be as fleshed out of a list as I thought. I'm sure editing Rachel is going to come back in with like, oh my god, how did you forget, you know, X, Y, and Z.
Hello, my friends, editing Rachel here. I did indeed remember the movies that I forgot to mention. Just two of them. One is Sleepy Hollow with Johnny Depp in it, and I forget who the main actress is. That's probably rather dumb of me. But anyway, yeah, it's the perfect classic to spooky crossover movie with those just Halloween vibes and somewhat gothic, and it's so cozy and you know, great movie. Also Crimson Peak, that is an excellent movie, especially if you are a fan of the gothic vibes, gothic romance. The romance in Crimson Peak is, I was going to say iffy. It's not iffy. It's not healthy. It is a romance, but it's a dark, not healthy romance. So don't go in there expecting like butterflies and stuff. Well, there are butterflies. But yeah, Crimson Peak is a great gothic ghost story. We have the decrepit manor house. There's like crispy fall leaves littering the ground in the house, and we have beautiful costumes, beautiful setting. It's a stunning movie. If you haven't seen it, I highly, highly recommend you go watch it. Like it has a little bit of everything, and it's just a pleasure to watch. If you like the gothic, if you like the semi-romantic, if you like the historical feeling, it's a really good crossover. So the only scary thing is like the ghosts, and they're pretty heavily CGI'd. Still scary looking, but not realistic, if that helps. But yes, highly recommend those two for the classic vibes.
So we've done the books, we've done the movies. Now we're going to do other forms of entertainment with classic fall vibes. We're going to talk about two board games that I absolutely love, and then I promise we'll be done. Although it's a video, so like if you're ready to be done, just click off. Why are you still here? Just kidding. Please subscribe. One of my favorite board games in general, but especially for cozy nights in, is Patchwork. There is a Halloween version of this game where the patch pieces are like spooky looking instead of this fun springtime kind of look. So it's a 2-player game, and it's kind of like Tetris with slightly more rules and a lot less stress. And it's so fun and so cozy. I highly recommend you get it if you live with just one or two other people and you like board games, because it is so cozy and so fun. So the Halloween version of Patchwork is a spooky season recommendation. And going off of the Universal Monsters movies that I was talking about, if you have not played Horrified, you are missing out. I love this game for many, many reasons. One, it's just the artwork is stunning. Two, the gameplay is perfectly complex without being too complex, so it's easy to learn how to play. It's a cooperative game, so you're not playing against your fellow player. You are playing with your fellow player, and you are playing as a hero to help save the village from the monsters. And once your hero makes a move, then you play as the monsters trying to defeat the hero and the villagers. So it comes with like these game cards for each monster, and there's different ways to defeat the monsters. Yeah, and you know, you've got your heroes that you can be. So, and there's cards that tell you what you can and can't do. And another reason that I adore this game is you can play it as just one player. You don't need any more people than you yourself. Up to 5 people can play, but one person can also play. And it is just as fun to play by yourself as it is to play with another person. So yeah, those are some of my favorite board games kind of in general, but also for cozy fall spooky season. But that does it for my fall favorites when it comes to classics and things that feel like classics. Thanks for sticking around. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to like and subscribe. I post every Wednesday and sometimes on Saturdays. See y'all later. I hope y'all have a great day and a great rest of your week, and I will see y'all in my next video. Bye!